Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone. We are from group 2 that consists of Aisyah Wahyuni, Salsabila Asri, Ulaya Rizko, and Miza Radudia. In this opportunity, we would like to present about the sanction in the field of taxation. Pasal 25 ayat 9 UU KUP states that objections to taxpayers are rejected or partially granted, and taxpayers who don't filing an appeal will subject to administrative sanctions in the form of 50% of the total tax based on the objection decision or keputusan keberatan and reduced by the tax paid before filing an objection. Penalties must be paid no later than a month from the date of issuance of surat keputusan keberatan, and the collection of surat paksa will be carried out if the taxpayer does not pay off the tax debt. When surat keberatan is filed by a taxpayer, the first level settlement authority is given to Dirjen Pajak with the provision time limit is maximum of 12 months from the date of the surat keberatan made, so that legal certainty permits are obtained for taxpayers for the implementation of tax administration. For example, in 2013, Surat Ketetapan Pajak Kurang Bayar or SKPKB with the amount of tax accrued of 1 billion rupiahs was issued to PTA. In discussing the final audit results, the taxpayer only approved the tax payable of 200 million rupiahs. The taxpayer has paid part of it and submits an objection to other corrections and has approved or granted by Dirjen Pajak with the amount of tax payable of 750 million rupiahs. Thus, the taxpayer is not subject to administrative sanctions as stipulated in UU KUP Pasal 19, but to a sanction of 50% times by the result of subtraction of 750 million rupiahs and 200 million rupiahs. And the result is 275 million rupiahs.
In certain cases, the taxpayer doesn't submit a notification letter within a predetermined period of time, even though it has been warned in writing, but still doesn't submit a notification letter, which results in the Director General of Taxes being able to issue a tax assessment letter. Lack of tax in his possession and taxpayers who don't have books or at the time of examinations because they do not fulfill the request as referred to in Article 29, which results in the Directorate General taxpayer unable to calculate the amount of tax that should be owed. Therefore, DGT has the authority to issue surat ketetapan pajak kurang bayar in possession atau secara jabatan in connection with the proof of descriptions of the calculation, which becomes the basis for calculating the work it is charged by the taxpayer. For example, there are incomplete bookkeeping so that the profit and loss or circulation calculations are unclear. The bookkeeping documents are incomplete so the numbers cannot be tested. From the series of investigations and or known facts, it is likely that he was hiding the allegations. Therefore, for the taxpayers who received SKP kurang bayar in possessions and the taxpayer is unable to prove the validity of the tax assessment letter in possessions, their objections is rejected. Taxpayer submits an objection to a tax assessment letter. The taxpayer is obliged to pay the accrued tax of at least the amount that has been approved by the taxpayer in the final discussions of the audit results prior to the objections letter is submitted. The period for completing the objection decisions, which causes the amount of the tax to be paid to increase, must be paid within a month from the date of issuance. In Article 25, Paragraph 7 of KUP law states that the postponement of the period is that the maturity of the payment stated in the deferred tax assessment is up to 1 month from the date of issuance of the objections decisions. The postponement of the period of tax payment will result in administrative sanctions in the form of interest of 2% per month as regulated in Article 19 of the KUP law, stating that doesn't apply to the amount of tax that hasn't been paid at the time of filing an objections. The amount of tax that hasn't been paid at the time of filing the objection is not included as a tax payable.
Scope of examination. Based on the scope, the types of inspection as mentioned above can be differentiated into field inspections and office inspections. Office audit is carried out within a maximum period of 3 months and can be extended to 6 months, counting from the date the taxpayer arrives and fulfills the summons for office audit up to the date of the audit result report. Field inspection is carried out within a maximum period of 4 months and can be extended to a maximum of 8 months counting from the date of the inspection will run until the date of the audit result report. Taxpayer obligation in examination. First, fulfill the call to come to attend the audit in accordance with the specified time, especially for the type of office audit. Second, show and or lend books or records, document that from the basis and other documents including electronically processed data relating to income earned, business activities, taxpayer free work or objects that are subject to tax. Third, provide the opportunity to enter a place or space deemed necessary and provide other assistance for the smooth running of the inspection. Fourth, deliver written response to the audit result notification letter. Fifth, lending the audit working paper made by the public accountant, especially for the type of office audit. Sixth, provide other information both oral and written as needed. Taxpayer rights in examination. First, request an examination warrant. Second, seeing the auditor's identity. Third, receive an explanation of the purpose of the examination. Fourth, ask for details of the differences between the result of the examination and the SPT. And fifth, be present in the final discussion of the examination results within the specified time limit. Check up a result. Based on the result of an audit conducted by the Directorate General of Taxes, a tax assessment will be issued, which may result in the tax payable being underpayment, overpaying, or zero. Based on the examination, the types of assessment issued are SKPLB, SKPKB, SKP, KBT, and SKPN. In addition, a SPT can be issued in the event that administrative sanctions are imposed in the form of fines, interest, and increases. Table of administrative sanction in the tax assessment letter. For fines, the problem is let SPT is submitted for period and annual, self-rectification and not yet investigated. Entrepreneurs who have been confirmed as PKB but do not make tax invoice or make tax invoice but not on time. Entrepreneurs who have been confirmed as PKP who do not fill incomplete tax invoice. PKP reports tax invoice not in accordance with the tax invoice issuance period. Table of administrative sanction in the tax assessment letter for penalty of interest. The problem is revisit periodic and annual SPT, late payment of periodic and annual taxes, lack of tax payment in SKPKB. SKPKB is issued after 5 years have passed due to tax crime or other criminal acts, current year income tax not or underpayment, and SPT underpayment. Next, PKP that fails to produce and has been given a refund of the input tax. SKP, KB or T is issued after 5 years, have passed due to tax crime or other criminal acts. SKP, KB or T correction, the objection decree, the decision on appeal which resulted in late payment of underpayments, installing or delaying tax distortage due to postponement of tax returns. And the last is table of administrative sanction in the tax assessment letter for increased sanctions. The problem include that disclosing the incorrect SPT before the issuance of the SKP. If SPT is not submitted as stated in the warning letter, PPN or PPNBM which should not be compensated or not at the 0% rate. Articles 28 and 29 are not fulfilled. For unpaid or underpaid income tax, for not or less deducted or collected or deposited, for PPN or PPNBM not paid or underpaid, and the last is tax shortage on SKP KBT.
Type of sanction. Apart from administrative sanction, there are tougher sanctions that can await those who do not report their annual tax return. One of the sanctions imposed in through an inspection process in accordance with the tax law. The purpose of the examination itself is to test compliance with tax obligation, and one of them is in order to provide legal certainty to taxpayers. In addition to the sanction through the intended examination, there are also other sanctions through the process of examining preliminary evidence and tax investigation, namely criminal sanction. Tax criminal sanction. The penalty for deliberate failure to report the annual SPT is regulated in Article 39 of the KUP law. It is stated that every person who deliberately fails to submit an SPT so that it can cause losses to state revenue will be punished with imprisonment for a minimum of 6 months and a maximum of 6 years, and a fine of at least twice the amount of unpaid or underpaid taxes and a maximum of 4 times the amount unpaid or underpaid taxes. This penalty is added once to criminal sanction if a person commit another criminal offense in the field of taxation before 1 year has passed, commencing from the completion of serving the imprisonment imposed. It's worth knowing not reporting the annual tax return has the potential for an offense if proven to have violated tax laws and regulation. In Article 38 of KUP Law Number 28 of 2007, it is stated because of their negligence, they do not submit the SPT so that it can cause losses to state income, and the act is an act after the first act, as a referred to in Article 13A, is subject to a fine of at least 1 time the amount of tax payable that is not paid or underpaid, and a maximum of twice the amount of tax payable is not paid or is underpaid, or is subject to imprisonment of at least 3 months or a maximum of 1 year. The criminal sanction itself is a last resort to improve taxpayer compliance. Based on Article 13A of KUP law, taxpayers who, because of their negligence, do not submit their SPT are not subject to criminal sanction if the taxpayer first did their negligence and the taxpayer paid the underpayment of the amount of tax all along with administrative sanction in the form of an increase of 200% of the amount of underpaid tax, determined through the issuance of tax underpayment certificate.